I just found out a secret that my sister has. It's a dark family secret, and now it's exposed. I do not know who to trust anymore, now that everyone's gone and stabbed me in the back. I never expected someone I shared the same womb with to pull the rug from beneath my feet. Maybe I was sucking everyone's energy so much and making them depressed, but I did not choose to have cancer. I did not force anyone to stay in my life if my illness was affecting their mental health. Therefore, I see no reason why my own sister would blame me for a mistake that she made because she was afraid I was going to die. About 5 years ago, when I was 30, I was diagnosed with cancer, cervical. They caught it early and began treatment to minimize the damage, but I did not take well to treatment. The cancer quickly spread, slimming the chances of me being able to recover. I was sure that it was going to take me, but I was not ready. My child was only 3 years old at the time, and my husband and I were very happy in our marriage. But as the cancer ate away at my cells, it ate through my life. My hair started to fall out, I lost weight, and I had to be hospitalized. I was in so much pain that the only thing I thought was going to help me was death. I did not want my baby to see me like that, or any of my family members. I did not want the pain of slowly losing me to hurt so much, so I did the most logical thing and started separating them from me. I stopped them from visiting and only instructed the doctors to contact them when I was gone. I did not want Brandon, my husband, and George, my son, last image of me to be the shadow of my former self. My decision was met with a lot of anger from my whole family, including my mother and my sister. They tried to force me to go back on it, but I was sure that I did not want them to see me die. With every round of treatment I underwent, it just got worse. The thought of just stopping the treatment and letting go of the hope that I was going to recover came to me more times than I could count. Then, a night came when I came so close to dying. They had to tell my family what was happening so they could prepare for the worst. My husband always used to say that was the worst time of his life, when he thought I was going to leave him. But through faith, I pulled through that night. They changed the type of treatment they were using until I stopped reacting badly. It was like my little miracle, which even the doctors were surprised by. I came back from the brink of death, and came back stronger than before. Even though they had to remove my uterus, I was soon in remission, and I have been ever since. My family did all they could to take care of me, even though I could see that they were also drained from all the stress and worrying. Within a year, I was back home, had gained more weight, and was planning on going back to work the following year. My marriage was a bit frail because of the financial strain on all the medical bills, and my husband having to raise our child alone. But things did get better with time, and soon it was almost like I was never even sick. But little did I know that I was about to have my whole world turn upside down. One weekend I had a sleepover at my sister's house, since my son was with his grandmother and my husband had a business meeting. She was the one who suggested it since we did not have seen each other in such a long time. Even though I was not so sure about it in the beginning, she quickly convinced me to come and stay at her place for the weekend. She had just gone through a breakup and needed a pick-me-up, so I felt a bit guilty about not abandoning her. So I went to stay at her place for the weekend. Everything was going well until I found myself in her closet, looking for something to wear. As I was putting the clothes back in, I accidentally dropped a few clothes on the floor, which was when something caught my eye. A jacket that I had been told got lost. It used to be my favorite jacket that I never took off even though it was not mine. That was my husband's jacket at the bottom of her closet. I was a bit weirded out, but the discovery, I thought there must be a logical explanation. She had helped him around the house when I was in the hospital after all, so maybe she washed his clothes and forgot to give him back his jacket. I was trying so hard not to make my mind go to dark places. My husband had never cheated on me before, let alone lied to me, because the man cannot lie to save his life. I would have figured out if something was off with him, or so I thought. I called my sister to her room to ask her about the jacket before I started overthinking. But as soon as she saw me holding the jacket, she started breathing heavy, as she looked so pale from someone with brown skin. Even though we were mixed, we looked nothing alike. She had gotten more of my mom's Indian features, while I looked like our white dad. At that moment, I realized that I had caught her in a lie, but I wanted to see what she would say to explain herself. This girl started crying out of nowhere and begging for my forgiveness. But I was not going to let her get off that easy. I threw the jacket in her face and told her she had 4 seconds to tell me the truth, leaving nothing out or she would regret it. I was boiling with so much anger that I nearly did something that would have landed me in jail. Anyways, here's her little petty explanation that she justifies with the fact that she was so scared of losing me, and he was angry that I was pushing him away. So they had the bright idea to have drinks while I was at death's door. Oh, and grief brought them together since they needed support they found it in each other's arms. She said that she was so overcome with guilt the very next day, and they never slept together again. As if that makes it any better. She also said that the guilt had been killing her for all those 5 years, but they did not want to tell me because they knew it would break my heart. What rubbish! If they really did not want to break my heart, then they should not have kept their hands on each other. I was far from thrilled when I heard what her lousy explanation was. My heart was so broken that all the anger faded away. I was so hurt and unable to even wrap my head around the fact that my sister and my husband have slept together. She tried to get me to understand and beg for my forgiveness, but I was not in the mood for that. Imagine that. I was dying while they were busy betraying me because they were scared I was going to die. Isn't that the most ironic thing ever? They both have a very different view on what grief is. Now, I am not admitting anything, but before I left her house, I did a few things that I should have regretted, but I did not care enough to regret. Then, even though he was at a business meeting and would be arriving the following day, I did not give a damn. I called his boss, said there was a terrible family emergency, then requested for him to send my husband back home. While waiting for him, I had a lot of time to really think about all the stuff that they've done to me, and I could still not justify it. My sister kept calling non-stop, begging me not to tell my mother and saying that she did not mean to hurt me. She said I had pushed them away and they were both suffering the mental effects. I'm not stupid. I know that it was not easy being there for me when I was sick. I felt like a huge burden, but somehow that it's my fault. He arrived home the very next morning looking very worried. I did not play games with him, I just asked him straight up, "Did you sleep with my sister?" Knowing him, he could not lie, and he said that it was true. It was just one time, and it meant nothing. He said that he hoped I would never find out because it was a mistake, and he loved me more than words can explain. I couldn't. I just couldn't. For years, I'd seen them interact with each other without knowing that they've been disloyal. I asked him why it had been my sister of all the women in the world. I wondered if he ever stopped to think about how I would feel. Or maybe they were hoping that I couldn't make it, so they would never have to tell me. He interrupted me by telling me that it was exhausting trying to be there for me when I was sick. My sister was one of the few people who understood the mental strain of me, pushing them away and being so close to death. I was not ready to listen to any of it. She was my blood. How could she even think to do something like that to me and then lie about it? Maybe if they had not lied, we would be in a different position. I just did not think I could trust the both of them anymore. After what just happened, I told him to pack his stuff and get out now. He complied even though he looked very sad while doing it. I could just not look at him without imagining that night. It made me physically ill. I was glad that our son was not yet home to experience the horrible fight we had. I would have probably forgave him for the sake of our child, but I was done. It was too much. After my surgery, things just weren't the same. It was as if I was living with a stranger who was not even in love with me. Now that I knew he slept with my sister, it made so much sense. I did not want to look at him for one more second than necessary. You can imagine that I was a crying mess by the time he left. I called the only person I knew would make me feel better. My mom. Even though she lived a bit far from me and it was already her bedtime, she picked up on the first ring. I told her everything that I found out over the phone, and she promised to make it to my house the very next day. I could tell that she was very angry, but that she was also keeping her anger on the inside. The next morning, I woke up to text and calls from several family members. It was when I tried to find out what happened that I discovered that everyone knew about it, and my mom had made a stop at my sister's house, where she caused quite the scene. I was not surprised that Mom would do that, because she was valued at most was us being loyal to each other, and my sister had taken that and thrown it in the garbage. There were also messages from family members who were very disappointed in my sister for what she did to me. They were shaming her that right and sinner, but I feel like she deserves it. Normally, I would not let anyone talk bad about my sister, but at that moment I hated her so much that I really wanted her to suffer. But it was not just her who had to suffer, because he had participated in the act too. Therefore, she was not the only one who was supposed to be shamed. So, when his family members started calling me and trying to reason with me so I'll take him back, I told them that I was the victim there, and he had betrayed me. There was nothing that was going to make me forgive him any quicker. And if they wanted to side with the cheater, then that's their problem, not mine. As anticipated, that did not go so very well. They tried reminding me of everything that we've been through and tried to make me feel guilty, because they were both there for me when I was sick. Which was pretty ironic, because while I was dying, he was busy sleeping with my sister. So honestly, I just did not get why I was being made to look like the bad guy. But luckily, her mom's side of the family had my back. It was especially the women who stood up for me and said that I did not have to stick with a man who cheated on me or forgive a lying sister. My mother had gotten divorced from my dad when she was a bit older, but not because of cheating, it was something else. She told me that I had to make the decision that was right for me, and not take her or anyone else's opinion into account. But she told me that from day on, I was the only daughter that she had because my sister showed that she had no remorse for what she's done. All she did was defend herself and try to justify her actions, without truly acknowledging that she was wrong. My husband, he wasn't any better. I mean, how long could he keep on playing the card that he was not mentally okay because I was sick? There were so many things that would have had helped him feel better, and none of them include sleeping with my sister. The worst part was the looks of pity that I got around town. No one said anything to my face, but it slipped through the cracks. I was able to find out that people were just feeling so sorry for me. The thought that I was weak, which was why my husband had gone and cheated. I imagine if I forgave him, then any women in town would feel that they could come and try their luck with my man, because I'm weak. I was done trying to be a good guy, who was all kind and caring and forgiving. Yeah, I'd known my husband for many years, and we never had problems, but I felt as if I deserved to know about this sooner. Maybe, just maybe, I might have forgave him. But the fact that for years they kept this from me was too much to handle. So therefore, I decided that I was going to get a divorce. Not only was I going to get a divorce, I was going to take my child out of town away from them. She already hated me because people were shaming her, calling her names because of what she's done. The family was still not speaking to her because of what happened, and she was basically cut off from the rest of the family. She was the one who was supposed to leave town. I got the majority custody of my son, while he could go see him on weekends and some holidays. I wanted full custody. But I knew that I had to put my feelings aside and ensure that my son still had a relationship with his father, despite our differences. I'm trying so hard to heal from that betrayal. I'm taking it a day at a time, but I feel like it would be a while before I want to speak to him or my sister again. I grew up with her, and she had known him for many years as well. So I don't get why they did not figure out that it would hurt me if they did that. But I guess I'll never understand. What a serious betrayal. I could not even imagine being in OP's shoes. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think OP made the right decision in cutting contact, divorcing, and trying to go for full custody of their child? Drop your thoughts down below. I would love to hear your opinion on this. We're going to look at our second story of the day. The title is, Am I the a-hole for taking my newborn son and going to my mom's house because my husband and his mom did not save any dinner for me? Guys, this story is a serious dilemma. Let's hop right in it. I'm 32 and female and gave birth to my son 5 weeks ago. My husband's mom has been camping in the living room ever since, and inviting people over, making a mess in the house, etc. I said nothing because if I opened my mouth, my husband would start scolding me, saying his mom's there to help and I should be grateful. What I did was ignore her and focus on my son. I handle feeding, diaper change, cleaning, wiping. I only get a few hours sleep, so my husband's mom isn't really even helping with the baby. But I thought to myself, well, at least she cooks for us. Last night, I was in the bedroom breastfeeding my son. I knew I was late for dinner, but I thought that my husband and his mom saved a plate for me. Once I got done with my son, I walked over to the room and saw my husband and his mom sitting watching TV. I asked about dinner, and my husband said it's probably on the stove. As I was walking towards the kitchen, his mom loudly said that she did not save me any food. I was absolutely shocked, and I asked her why. And she simply said, well, we didn't see you at your dinner table, so I thought you weren't hungry. I lost it, yelled that I was feeding my son. Of course I was hungry. I was actually starving. She shrugged her shoulders and said it wasn't her fault I did not show up. But she knew damn well that I was with my son and had not eaten a thing in hours. My husband asked me not to raise my voice at his mom, But I told him that he saw what happened and did not think about me being hungry and needing food. He lashed out asking what the duck I wanted him to do, and I said, I don't know, maybe save some food for your wife? She defended him, saying I was selfish of me to basically berate him for eating his dinner after working hours long at the department. An argument ensued, and I went inside the bedroom, packed a small bag for me and my son, called my brother to come take me to Mom's house, and my husband blew up at me. I was making it my way out the door. We argued there at the door, and he told me that I was doing was uncalled for and childish. I told him I could not take his mom anymore. He said I should be ashamed of myself for talking about her like that, after she literally put her life on pause, and so she could help me out. My brother came and I got in the car and left. He picked some food up for me on the way, and I ate like a hungry bear. My husband never stopped calling, though. In his last text, he called me, quote, nuts, and demanded I return today. But I said that I miss my mom, that I like it here, her clean home, her healthy food, and would like to stay for a while. He lost it, got his family involved, accusing me of keeping his son away from him and punishing him over food. So a lot of people's opinion on this is that the mother-in-law has to go. Here's a comment. I feel like she's only there to be the center of attention by causing problems under the guise of being a help. I have a sneaky suspicion that's what mother-in-law's doing also. Guys, let me know in the comment section how you would handle this mother-in-law. Drop your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. I love reading stories, so you can find me here every single day. Don't forget to subscribe and have a wonderful night.